This is Terry Wada with Collabo Creative, a local service design company here in Indianapolis, and it is another Wednesday. So we've got two new friends that have been willing to come and share their lessons with us and with you all about everything that we've learned throughout this time of quarantine and our COVID crisis and the pandemic, as well as everything that we're talking about around social justice and social equity and the whole Black Lives Matter, right? Because that is important. So we're thinking about the lessons that we're learning from all of this time that we've been able to reflect during 2020. So 2020 is going to be a crazy, amazing year for growth, right? Personally, as well as hopefully economically. We'll see how that goes. But I have two brand new friends with us today that are willing to share their lessons. So thank you so much for being here. I have Maria and Stu, and I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves and let you know what makes them expert learners and why we should listen to the lessons that they have for us. So Maria, could you start off?
Sure. Hi, I'm Maria Meske. I'm based in Indianapolis, and I am a creative accomplice. I like to help other people build their capacity for collaboration and communication and creativity. I do that through things like design research, where I get to work with the lovely Terry at Collabo Creative, as well as facilitations and trainings around applied improvisation.
Thanks, Maria. Okay, Stu.
Hey everyone, I'm Stu Kushner. I am the Director of Communications and Membership for the Indiana Society of Association Executives, managed by the Rayburn Group International Association Management Company. We are literally an association for people who work for associations headquartered in the state of Indiana. I'm based in Indianapolis and loving it here.
Awesome. Thanks, Stu. Well, and so you have been able to teach me a whole lot about associations and why they need help with being managed and how you guys help and play that role. So I didn't even know that there was an association for associations.
There's an association for everything, Terry.
Yeah, you taught me that too. I was amazed.
My first job.
Everybody likes to get together.
My first job was with Pickle Packers International, the Pickled Vegetable Association. Literally, association for everything.
Wow, I had no idea. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds fascinating.
The example that always comes to my mind is headquartered in Indianapolis, we have the Precast Concrete Association.
They're an ISA member.
Yeah,
nice.
That's good.
Okay. Well, so I always like to start off our conversations with one thing that we're grateful for today, because it gets us, to think about what is it that we are blessed with and what are the things that we are grateful for, and gets us on a good foot for setting up lessons we want to talk about. So I'm going to start with Stu this time. What's one thing you're grateful for today?
Oh gosh. Well, we had a normal weekend. And it was so nice. Spent some time at the pool, went out to dinner, and went down to Mass Ave in downtown Indy. And there were people out. They were still distanced, but people were out, and there was just a lot of great energy in the air. Mm-hmm. And you could really see the joy and happiness on people's faces just to be out and about and seeing their friends. And I'm just really grateful for that experience.
Oh, that's nice, right? Like the things we would not have even thought about before.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's one thing you're grateful for today, Maria?
I'm going to go with the answer that probably everyone could say, which is my family. Mm-hmm. We did not have a normal weekend. We've had some really concerning and scary things happen to my family recently. And I am just so grateful that I have family members that are willing to jump in and help so that I can help in other ways, and really just doing the things that families do best, which is take care of each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's great to have that support system, right? Whether or not you're leveraging the support of your family or your friends, or you are providing that support. So that's good to hear. And yeah, we're always grateful when we have our family members and family around us. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh, I feel so warm and fuzzy on the inside. Thanks for sharing that with me. It's always nice to hear what everyone's grateful for, because I love that sometimes it's these really big things and sometimes it's the really small things, and they're all important. So we'll jump into our first question, and this is kind of the main question, but what's one thing or one lesson that you've learned during the past few months, given that we've had so much happen, right? We've had quarantine, we've had a pandemic, we've had basically a global pandemic, right? We're seeing also even a global response to the call for social equity and being cognizant and aware and bringing it to the forefront that Black Lives Matter across the globe, which is amazing. And so in this time, I'm sure everyone has learned a lot of different things. Like, we've been able to sit and be by ourselves and reflect. We've been able to engage to see what's been going on around us. And so there's lots of lessons learned. And so we want to hear your lessons learned. And we'll start with Maria. So what's one thing that you've learned in the past few months up until now?
This whole 2020, I'm going to talk about 2020 as its own thing, has really highlighted for me how much our lives are run by systems and how everything is connected. And that was first made very clear when a lot of the systems that I didn't even know I relied on every day were suddenly taken away when we went into lockdown. And childcare is gone, and grocery stores are scary, and you can't get appointments to pick up groceries anyway, so I hope you've got stuff at home. And so the privilege that I have was very clear to me that was even a surprise. Mm-hmm. And then now, as we watch people protesting for the right to be treated as human beings, and it's exposing all of the systems that are in place that are not serving people in our culture. And, as designers, we learn about extreme users, right? We learn that sometimes you can design something for someone who is not the norm, who is not the average. Like, I think about curb cuts for people that are using wheelchairs. They cut down the curb so they can go down and cross the street more easily. And you learn as a designer that when you design for people like that, it benefits everybody, right? And so I'm hoping we can see that not only do Black Lives Matter and everyone's lives matter. I'm not saying like an all lives matter way, but especially in this context, all lives matter can't matter until Black Lives Matter, because they're not getting the resources that they need to be treated equitably. And if we can improve the resources for the people who are not being served, it's only going to improve lives for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. And that's a great example. Just, like when we think about the curb cuts, right? Like, you wouldn't really think about it, but it is a huge hindrance for people who are in wheelchairs or, who need that. And they should also be able to leverage the sidewalks, right?
Right.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. Stu, what's your lesson that you've learned over the past few months, and how did you come to realize that?
Well, similar to what Maria was saying, is I've just kind of lumped 2020 as one thing as well. And, well, all the things that are going on, just 2020, but the biggest...
I've managed to start texting just the short phrase, F in 2020, whenever something bad happens. It's just
I might take that. The big thing that I've learned is that a solid combination of transparency and just allowing yourself to be vulnerable goes such a long way in business, and the relationships that you have, just the people you come in contact with. For us, I mean, we're scrambling to change all of our events around, and so all of our members, a lot of them kind of look to us to try something, and if it fails, or if it succeeds, awesome. If it fails, they're like, great, we won't do that. But during all of this, planning for changing our events, we've been very transparent with our members in sort of we are not the expert on this situation. This is new to everyone. Please, any input that you might have is welcome. And I think this applies not only to the pandemic, but a lot of the social things going on as well. Just that, that vulnerability of, I don't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
How can we move forward together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely experienced that as an instructor. I teach a course for event planning, and my students present an event by the end of their semester. This semester in the spring, their event was canceled due to the pandemic. And I think it was a shock for them when I said, I don't know any more about this than you do. This has never happened. This is unprecedented. You're not going to get the answers wrong because there are no right or wrong answers at this point. Everybody's figuring it out. I'm hopeful that when the dust settles, they'll see what an amazing opportunity and what they learned that was so above and beyond from having to navigate this situation more than they would have learned in a traditional semester.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's amazing some of the ideas that come out of that.
Yes.
Creativity that really blossoms from all of this.
Absolutely. And that was something that we had, I had a couple of other friends a few weeks ago. They were talking about the same thing, as the amount of creativity that's come out, right? Because we're met with such limitations, new limitations, and a lot of hard times and adversity drives that whole creative thinking and innovation. So it's been amazing to see the amount of creativity, both large and small, that has been coming out through this time. And I really love how you frame that, Stu, when you talk about vulnerability, right? During a time of uncertainty, it requires us all to be vulnerable, to say we don't know the answer and be okay and comfortable with saying that. And then I love where you start to bring in like the idea of vulnerability and inclusivity, because if we don't know the answers, then we can't expect to just make all the decisions by ourselves, but we need to be open to hearing everyone's voices and open to their suggestions and their opinions, right? And you guys do that so fantastic. I think both of you guys do that really well overall, which is why I wanted to make sure that I had you on here, because you guys are you've been so such a blessing to me in my life, in hearing how you guys are moving forward and how you guys are both navigating through both personally as well as professionally. So thank you again for being here and sharing your lessons. We're going to go. So the last kind of question that we wrap up with is, with this new lessons, with these new learnings, right, around vulnerability and around being, just kind of open. How do you see this translating as we start to re-engage? So like you said, Stu, like you're grateful that we're able to have kind of this feeling of what was once the norm, right? Feeling that energy and going out into new spaces. So as we start to re-engage with new businesses or old businesses, but old friends or new friends, and in new spaces and in new ways, how do you see these lessons translating? Are there anything that you're going to be doing differently, or that you hope to see being done differently? And we'll go with Maria again.
Okay. Something that I'm seeing that I love and I hope to see continue, and I hope to be very cognizant of employing in my own life, is people being open to having their mind changed. I'm seeing a lot of momentum, especially around social justice and equity, about people saying, I didn't get it before, and I'm starting to get it now, and I was wrong before. It's that, like, when you know better, you do better. Mm-hmm. But you have to admit that you didn't know right the first time. And it's challenging. It's really tough sometimes, because it's almost like a shame that you feel on yourself, like, oh gosh, I was wrong, I'm ashamed, I hurt people. But as somebody who's been on the receiving end of people changing, they're just happy to have you on the right side moving forward. So I'm really hoping that continues long after protests are done and long after we've solved all the world's ills.
If I may I piggyback on that real quick? I think, so to that note, listening is something that I really think is going to come out of this, and just like that sort of understanding, like, I don't, like, not feeling that really guilt anymore, but like just hearing what people have to say, hearing what the challenges they're dealing with are, and we may not be able to solve all the problems, like you and me won't be able to solve society as a whole, maybe, but we can do our part just by hearing what they have to say and really taking it in, not thinking about what we're going to say next, but really paying attention to what their words are and what their reactions to situations are. And for me, what I hope to see out of this also is just that all in this together mentality, and just seeing more collaboration between businesses and clients, members and associations, and different groups of people in society just coming together to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. And you guys, I mean, I love when we have people on and we don't plan these conversations, right? I just give you some questions and it always comes together that we're always kind of on the same page with everything, where, Maria, you're talking about being open to having our minds changed, and that you're so right. It is difficult, right? It's difficult to realize when we didn't see it, right? We're not all enlightened. We're not all perfect. We're all flawed in some way. And at some point in our lives, we're going to be on the wrong side of the conversation. It's just inevitable. No one I know of has walked, on the right side of every single discussion or conversation for their entire lives.
Yeah.
If you're out there, you're awesome. But that's
if you meet that person, I want to chat with them.
But I think that's so amazing, right? Just that it's so powerful when you think about how important it is for us to have that open mind and be open to changing our minds. And then Stu, you come in and it makes so much sense where it starts with listening, right? We have to be open to listening and hearing that other side, because we will never be open to changing our minds if we don't hear the other side and try to see it from their perspective rather than just our own. So I love how you guys are building this conversation and this dialogue just here in this short period that we have. You both gave me goosebumps. I was just like, oh my gosh, yes. It's so hard to have your mind changed. And yes, you have to listen.
Yeah. Would you say that perhaps we were yes-anding each other?
Oh, absolutely. And so for the folks out there that don't know, both of our friends today are improvisers. So Maria is actually a longtime professional improviser with the Comedy Sports, and Stu is more of a newer improviser, along also with Comedy Sports in Indianapolis. Yeah. And I have had the pleasure of seeing both of you perform, and you both are amazing. So yes, lots of yes-anding.
Lots of yes-anding.
Yeah. Well, so I want to keep our conversation on time. And I think that what you guys have shared was just so powerful. And for myself, having that kind of reflection and bringing that in from hearing what you all are saying is just so powerful to think, yeah, it is hard to admit you're wrong, right? To admit that, oh yeah, we're on the wrong side of that. Maybe I should change my mind. And that it's okay. And I love that you will be met with open arms. It's okay. No one's going to say, oh no, you were wrong. Stay on that side. The people on the other side are going to say, we welcome you. Thank you. Right. Thank you for seeing our perspective, and thank you for joining us. So I love that. I always like to wrap up with last words it could be last words, any words of wisdom that you have to share. I think you both shared a lot of words of wisdom already, but any words of wisdom that you want to share, or if you have a favorite quote that you love.
I have a quote that I love.
Okay.
From an improviser, actually, from Amy Poehler. It is good for her, not for me. Meaning, there are things in this world that people are going to give you advice on that don't resonate with you. It's good for them. It's not for you.
Oh, nice. I love Amy Poehler. Any last words of wisdom from you, Stu?
I have a quote as well. It's from a book I'm reading right now, and I'll preface this with, I'm not a reader. This is something new from the queue. And I'm reading Bear Town by Frederick Bachman. And a quote from that has really resonated with me is, the only time I'm not moving forward is when I'm taking aim. Oh. And I think about this whole situation, just 2020, as a whole.
FN
We're
2020.
we're not all moving forward right now, and you can either you can sit around and feel sorry for yourself, or you can start planning. How are we going to get through this? What are we going to do when this all clears up? And that was just like when I read that, it was in the middle of not having left the apartment for a month and a half. And that just really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. You're like, it's okay. I'm taking aim right now.
taking aim right now. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I love hearing everyone's quotes, especially when folks share quotes, because a lot of times they're things I haven't heard, quotes I haven't heard, and people I haven't heard of, like this book. Is it Beartown?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to have to look it up. Would you recommend it? It's a good book.
I like it. It's about sports in a small town. So if that's your bread and butter.
Well, thanks for the book recommendation.
I think it's
That's awesome. Well, so I wanted to thank you both for just taking the time out of your day and spending a few minutes with me, and then being able to spend a few minutes with each other. I think when we have these conversations, we're able to share our thoughts not only with everyone out there that's watching, but also with each other on a more intimate level. Like you're able to build off of each other's thoughts and perspective, and in that, oftentimes we see how much we have in common, how similar we are, and how we see things and how we experience things, and the lessons that we're learning there. So I wanted to thank you so much, both of you, for joining me and for being vulnerable and sharing your experiences and your perspectives around what's going on in FN 2020. And despite everything that we're going through, we are going to come out better on the other side of this, right? We're going to be more aware, more awakened, have better aim, hopefully, as we start to step into re-engaging with each other. So thank you again for your wisdom and your expertise and your yes-anding throughout this conversation. It's been fantastic. And for everyone that is out there watching, thank you for watching us. We love having people be able to come and engage. So if you liked the words that you've heard from Maria and Stu, please leave us a comment and be sure to like this video. And we will see you all next week. Bye.